pleased to be joined again by Mike McGuiness. He is the Interim Director of the Berkley Downtown Development Authority with us today on the MegaCast. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How are things going right now down in the downtown area of Berkley?
It is hot this August and happening. You alluded to the Woodward Dream Cruise excitement. Downtown Berkley on Friday evening hosted the 25th Annual Cruise Fest, where they had over 350 classic cars cruising down 12 Mile. And it was a really dynamic day, part of a really dynamic weekend that showcased what downtown Berkley has to offer.
Now, going back to 2020, because last year, of course, the formal proceedings of the Woodward Dream Cruise, the formal events that we're usually seeing going on, were canceled or were postponed or done away with. Now, that didn't stop people from cruising and from going into the downtown areas of Berkley and other places that are along Woodward, but it definitely didn't. But it certainly wasn't a help as much as something like what we see on a normal year. So in 2021, coming back this year, how much of an impact was the Woodward Cruise on that momentum for businesses in downtown Berkley as we start to slowly but surely emerge away from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Downtown Berkley has over 50 independent small businesses and merchants that offer a really eclectic and dynamic offering for shoppers and patrons. We saw during the 2021 Dream Cruise weekend, a lot of our downtown restaurants see a lot of foot traffic. Berkley has extended some of the relaxations that they implemented for the pandemic era in terms of greater outdoor dining and temporary structures. They've just extended that. So visitors to downtown Berkley have an expanded offering of downtown outdoor dining options if they come to either 12 Mile or Coolidge in our historic downtown.
So we talked about those extensions of those abilities that were put into place during the pandemic. Part of the purpose of a downtown development authority is to make sure that cities are preventing their downtowns from dwindling away or from momentum shifts, whether they are natural and economic or from a disaster scenario like what we've seen with the pandemic or storm or something like that. How much of an impact has those changes that were made to support these businesses and allow them to continue to be open while still being safe from COVID-19, how much of an impact has that made on the Downtown Development Authority's vision going forward and their communication with City Council and with local businesses to modify the situation in downtown Berkley that's to make it more conducive to businesses, but also something that the city can get behind going forward?
It certainly has been a challenge. The Berkley DDA transitioned to connecting our struggling small businesses with resources, so that way when there's grant funding from Oakland County and beyond, they were receiving restaurant relief and other ensuring that they were connected with paycheck protection programs, distributing masks with Berkley Strong, downtown Berkley, complimentary to our small businesses. And so now we're in this new phase of taking the sort of innovations and pivots that the pandemic required and growing from them so that way it could have long-term benefit for downtown Berkley, which is where we're in that experiment phase as there's a real pent-up interest and energy to explore downtown and support small businesses, balancing lingering concerns, health challenges, and just the uncertainty that the current era still provides. So it's still a precarious path, but the downtown Berkley businesses are trying to rise to the challenge and survive. So we're really grateful that there's been so many supporters that have, to your previous guest conversation, have been able to step up and support local retailers. We need that to endure as this crisis meanders and lingers and takes these new mutations.
Mike McGuiness joins us on the MegaCast. He's the Interim Director of the Berkley Downtown Development Authority. And just to get a point of view on the experimentation that you talked about, some of these new regulations that were put in place and these allowances that were put in place for businesses to expand outdoors on the city streets, so on and so forth, that we've seen throughout the local area. In terms of Berkley, you mentioned that a lot of these allowances were just extended. Do you expect those beyond that extension to persist going forward, or do you think that there's going to be some sort of a reorganization or return to normalcy pre-pandemic in terms of this after we get out of this crisis?
Berkley was really thoughtful to take a very expansive view. So the extension was through the end of next year, end of 2022.
Okay.
We actually hope that the situation nationally and locally improves so much that they might even want to try and dial that back even sooner than the end of next year. They just didn't want businesses not to be able to plan accordingly, because when we come to the winter months, if you're talking about a downtown Berkley restaurant and they're deciding whether they want to have outdoor dining in Michigan, that looks a lot different for the winter months. So they've got to make some investments in some temporary structures and how they advertise and market themselves. So that's why we wanted to ensure that they had that planning and ramp up time, so they didn't have to wait every few months to see what might come next. But we hope and pray that there can be more normal, traditional room and environment for growth of small businesses, which is challenging in any environment. You'll see a lot of independent small businesses always really have a tough road of it, and this has just been an anvil that's been thrown in their laps. And so our downtown environment has been trying to bear the weight of that anvil while we try and endure and make it to the other side of this crisis.
You can only do so much planning in the midst of chaos, but having that planning be there, that the ability to have some sort of a plan going forward is crucial for these businesses. That being said, throughout the pandemic, no matter what the plans have been, this is a chaotic situation. This is an ever-changing situation. Businesses make plans 1 month, and then 2 months into those plans, the entire paradigm is shifted to something different. In terms of the last few months, and certainly this summer, with Michigan's regulations on businesses regarding COVID-19 safety being mostly lifted by the end of June, and certainly by what was lifted July 1st, there has been a lot of momentum for these businesses as well. In downtown Berkley, how have businesses been able to respond to that momentum, especially now as we have more shifts back in the favor of COVID-19 with the recent uptick in the spread of the Delta variant?
Downtown Berkley has a really nice tradition of having some really long-running grassroots community activities. I mentioned the Cruise Fest that goes on in downtown during the Woodward Dream Cruise weekend, but they have Berkley Art Bash coming up September 11th. We just had the Street Art Fest along Coolidge in August. We are implementing a Berkley Halloween. So this dude that's getting ready to shop in downtown Berkley for the October season, Merry Month in December. And we have a Ladies Night Out series that encouraging female shoppers and diners to make a trip of it, have some fun in downtown Berkley. So it's been those grassroots marketing and promotions that have led us to be able to sort of infuse a spike of attention and vitality to those downtown merchants. So that's why we're trying to go hot and heavy as much as we can within the current constraints and people's fears to, while the weather's good, let's get them outside and get them on the streets of downtown Berkley on 12 Mile and Coolidge.
We're joined by Mike McGuiness. He's the Interim Director of the Berkley Downtown Development Authority with us on the MegaCast. And in terms of Berkley's businesses, particularly in the downtown, right now with the uptick in COVID-19 cases, we're seeing more of a focus again on should businesses put mask mandates in place? Should they require masks for their employees, for the customers, for both? Are we going to see vaccine requirements? Certainly there have been cities as big as New York that have put requirements for vaccination or for proof of vaccine to go into restaurants in their city. In terms of Berkley specifically, what is the outlook right now in terms of mask requirements, vaccination requirements in Berkley's businesses downtown?
There's nothing uniform. We've seen a lot of retailers and restaurants making the best decision for them and their work environment. We have a lot of businesses that, in addition to providing sanitation stations, providing masks for their employees as well. But we do have a lot of outdoor elements, which is powerful. And we encourage anyone, no matter where they're at, to explore what's possible with downtown Berkley, because there is a retailer that is at your point in terms of your comfort level, and you should absolutely consider downtown Berkley. when making that choice. So we have not seen any sort of mandate across the board or anything of that sort. What is noteworthy is that the approximately 16,000 people that live in the Berkley community, it has one of the highest vaccination rates, not only in Oakland County, but in the state. It's been extremely strong, which has allowed those residents to have a sense of mutual commitment and understanding of where their neighbors are at, which has, I think, helped the downtown Berkley business climate.
We're joined by Mike McGuiness. He is the Interim Director of the Berkley Downtown Development Authority with us today on the MegaCast. And you talked about the Berkley Art Bash coming up on September 11th, Woodward, the Woodward Dream Cruise Fest that we had recently. What are some other events or special programming that's coming up downtown in Berkley that would be interesting for people to attend or really helpful in supporting our local businesses?
Sure. So in addition to the street, the Berkley Art Bash that I spoke about, that's Saturday, September 11th, action-packed along 12 Mile in downtown. But we also have Restaurant Weekend. It's a new initiative. We're partnering with the Berkley Area Chamber of Commerce so that October 1st and 2nd, as we kick off the Berkley month in October, that you can check out the dynamic dining and drinking options downtown. We have the Ladies' Night Out during the month of Berkley on October 14th. And the entire month of December, it includes a nighttime lighted holiday parade in December, but the downtown is decked out, and a lot of downtown merchants really go out all out for Merry Month in the month of December. So that's just a taste of the grassroots, dynamic, really inclusive way that downtown Berkley rises to the occasion and brings that fun to our downtown that has a retro feel, but has a broad appeal for many, both locally around the Berkley area, but also throughout our region.
We're joined by Mike McGuiness, the Interim Director of the Berkley Downtown Development Authority, with us today on the MegaCast. And Mike, for those that aren't familiar with downtown development authorities in our cities throughout the local area, what is the role that the authority holds in preserving and maintaining the future of the downtown area, and how can people provide their input so that they have their say in the future and the present of their city?
Sure. Each community has a different spin on it, but broadly speaking, downtown development authorities, or DDAs, are a way for municipalities downtown to capture the taxes that are generated from improvements made into the downtown, to then just invest further to make their downtown more competitive and more of a destination to support the business climate. So for our community, it's the entire mile along 12 Mile between Greenfield and Coolidge, and then an entire mile on Coolidge between 11 and 12 Mile. And the community can not only follow Downtown Berkley on social media channels, but they can visit downtownberkley.com find out ways that they can join the grassroots volunteer committees that make a lot of the fun stuff happen, put their input and spin. We are investing a lot in our streetscape to add more benches and trash receptacles and public art. We've even partnered with the city and the school district where we're building a public plaza near Berkley High School just to add more of a destination for our downtown. And that comes from public feedback and citizen engagement. So we highly welcome that. And for those viewers that live in another community that has downtowns, I'm certain their DDA, which is just shorthand for Downtown Development Authority, would be extremely grateful for your involvement and your feedback to make their downtown stronger too.
We're joined by Mike McGuiness. He's the Interim Director of the Berkley Downtown Development Authority. And Mike, just another couple minutes with you before we say goodbye today. Anything else that would be interesting or important for our audience to know about Berkley's downtown area at this time, or things they should look out for in the coming future?
We take it for granted how many unique and dynamic downtowns we have in the metropolitan Detroit region, just because we live here and we know it. Oakland County alone is chock full with historic, interesting, and really fascinating local businesses throughout their downtowns. And Berkley, if you haven't visited lately, you really need to check out the unique charm that it has to offer. There are over 50 independent small businesses that would love to showcase their special offerings. We have expanded outdoor restaurant dining this season and the seasons to come. And we have an outdoor mural program where we have a real robust expansion of public art. You can even do a downtown Berkeley mural bike ride where you can check out the murals on your 2 wheels. You can check them out on your 2 feet. You can check them out during our dynamic downtown events. And please visit downtownberkeley.com to find out more about that and the other interesting initiatives that our Berkeley DDA is bringing to support our downtown corridors.
Mike, we appreciate it. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks. Have a great day.